come on in, have a seat. I have a seat just for you so that we can talk about your relationship journey, no matter where you're at in it, even if you just broke up or you're already with a committed partner again. This is all about loving smart through all phases of love. Today, I want to show you what happens when you get that dreaded statement that I'm not in love anymore. I know I was so worried about that when I was single, and you do hear about that quite a bit. It's a very real problem that happens for some people. So we're going to be diving right into what that is and what you can do about it if you hear it or if you feel like you want to say it to somebody else. Again, this is about loving smart no matter where you're at, whether you're the one walking away or you're the one picking up the pieces of your heart. You want to love smart and move on in a healthier way, even if you made some mistakes along the way. So let's get you feeling a lot more confident. I'm Shawn Davis. I'm a therapist turned coach, and I'm going to be diving right in with you along this journey so that you're not just following some advice that somebody just decided that was a good idea. It's really sound, helpful, and really about being connected with somebody that can help you along and help you feel like you're supported. So before we get started, I want you to go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already done that, so that this can be delivered to you and somebody like you that might need a little help. When somebody tells you that they're not in love with you anymore, that news usually gets delivered suddenly, and it can be a total surprise for many people. So when you go through this situation, it's really isolating and hard to overcome. And we're going to dive into what makes this happen. So whatever side of the fence you're on, you're going to know why you went down that road and how to move on. This feeling that they are conveying to you of having love for you but not being in love, one of the common reasons we hear is really about losing physical desire, and that happens from not making passion a priority in your romance anymore. But honestly, even in those cases of losing that physical desire, there are emotional and interpersonal components to it. And so unless you're dealing with a hookup kind of situation where it's really just about the chemistry, that physical, where emotional intimacy is really never achieved, if you're not dealing with that kind of situation, you're going to find that intimacy has lots of layers and depth to it, and that physical is the most surface layer, and we can start to reattach to physical desire in other ways. Even when the human body changes, weight changes, physical abilities change, you're going to need to have physical desire in other ways. And so we want to deepen that. If you feel like you've gotten into this kind of more shallow place where physical desire is the only real depth you have, and it feels like you're losing everything if you lose that, and you want to have other things to create that desire as well. And so as we move on in developing smarter love skills, we want to take a look at these situations where we might just kind of focus on that physical so much and hobbies and things like that, that we don't get to deep intimacy where trust and commitment and loyalty are found. Another common scenario where you hear this statement has to do when you have so many problems in your relationships that their recall of the past is quite negative. Anything positive that could have happened then may be overwritten by the negative mind. And what happens here is the brain uses a negative filter. This can be positive, where we only recall, things that are hunky-dory, or it could go negative, and that's where we filter out any of the positives and everything just seems bleak. The mental filter happens in many life situations. Like we said, it could go positive and it can go negative. When it goes positive, it can be a scenario like, let's say that you had these brand new shoes that you really wanted, and You went, you got them, and then all of a sudden you're wearing them and you see everyone else seems to have them. Well, that is an example of where we filter out things that, we don't think are going to be there. And so you don't think everybody has that shoe, but in actuality, it's much more common. You just felt like it was rare. And so at times we need to remember that the human brain will see what it wants to see, not what is actually there. So when we go back to the original problem of when you were told that they love you, but they're not in love with you, we know that one of the reasons this could happen is they are recalling the past, but they're filtering out all the positives. So what they recall is the negative things that did authentically happen, and they don't remember those positives because they just filtered it out. So when you remember the good times and they don't, that feels cold. It does not mean the good times never happened. It just means they've moved on from them. To heal the rift that you have where you feel in love and they don't, the thing you want to hold on to in this problem is the fact that they do love you. Even if they're not in love with you, I believe that's something that we can fix together. You need to build a bridge, and you need two people willing to do the work. If one person's not willing to do the work, this is useless. It's only helpful if you have two people willing to do the work. So let's talk about the trick on how to make that happen. Recalling your love story together as a team is one of the many ways that we can heal this divide. What it takes is remembering all the components of what makes your love great so that you can pick up the pieces that you guys have left behind. That's the important part. Talk about your love story and pick up these little parts that you can now remember by telling your story. It might be you forgot how, hot they were in a certain setting. Maybe you lost some respect along the way because they had a lot of needs and you felt like that, that was really hard to manage. Pick up the pieces of your story by telling your story to each other. The key to all of this, the real trick here, is that the power of the human story heals, and not having the human story, so not having your love story in front of you where it's, something you see and hear regularly, you're going to lose your story. And that, I believe, is one of the things that causes this feeling where you feel like you're not in love. You're not sharing that love with each other anymore. Recall the past to heal this divide. So the real question that you want to discover, if you are still attached to your partner, nobody's moved on yet, you want to consider this solution. I've seen couple after couple do this, and even the most miserable couples found joys that they left behind. This doesn't always mean that everything's going to be fixed. It just means that you can remember the positives so that the negatives don't feel so bleak. So the hard work of fixing a troubled relationship can be helped once the good memories return, so that when you go down the road of the heavy, deep, darker conversations, you're going to have a lifeline to pull you back up so that you remember it's not all doom and gloom. One word of caution that you want to use before you try this technique is your partner may not be willing to go down memory lane with you, at least not the way you guys normally would have conversations. So the apprehension your partner might feel towards this is very real, and you want to respect that. And how you do that is have a neutralizing agent, meaning some source that grounds you guys together, keeps you out of getting into high levels of conflict where all you do is shame, criticize, and abuse each other. We don't want to go down that road. A therapist or some sort of professional that knows how to handle high levels of conflict is going to be your aid in that kind of situation. Sometimes having another person in the room helps you guys stay focused on the work. You're not going to go and say all the things you want to do to abuse each other, and that might be a little frustrating, and that's okay. We want to refocus, though, on productive solutions. And the only way that can happen is we got to get out of our normal routine and try things on that are different. So go down memory lane if your partner's willing. And if they're not, have somebody who can help you guys down that road. And your partner might feel okay doing that kind of work if they know that it's something that is a healing situation. If your partner has not left, there's still hope. So don't give up just yet if your partner's still there. That hope is definitely alive if they have not left. But here's the thing, don't keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, thinking that trying harder is going to get you somewhere. You need a roadmap, and a roadmap is found through following some sort of process system or having some sort of guide with you that can help you navigate around the usual traps and pitfalls. So if your relationship is a little different, you're not dealing with all of that conflict and negativity, let's say that you just drifted apart a little bit. This is going to be really fun for you, and you're going to be able to make this process a little easier. Drifting apart is an easier problem to solve because we need to just reattach things, not build things up from the ground, right? So when you are with somebody and you have drifted apart, here's what I want you to do. Have a memory night together. So this is kind of like a date night kind of thing. No problems are allowed to be solved during this if you do this, okay? It's only about remembering those things that we might have lost along the way. So if you have a great memory of negativity, don't go down negativity road. You don't need that. But go down the things that you might have lost along the way, the things that are good memories for you, the things that are, triumphs, and things you overcome together, and have that memory night together. If you are the receiver in this conversation, so there is a leader and there is a receiver. The leader tells the story, the receiver just catches it. What I want you to do here is be a memory catcher. If you're the catcher, you don't correct a story. You don't tell it from your viewpoint. You just allow 1000%. Allow that story to go wherever it goes, even if it's completely false from your memory. Allow them to have their own memory. Don't correct it. So let's say that you want to make a statement to let your partner know that you remember things differently. Instead of saying, that's not how it was, I want you to instead say, that's not how I remember things. Can you tell me more about how you see it? So what you want to do is have a sense of curiosity. What makes this person feel so differently from me? Instead of thinking, I know the way to remember it, or I have the answer, or my memory's better, just kind of go down memory lane with them. You might find that there are some things they remember, even if it's not like the correct, accurate, what we would videotape version. It's still a different type of memory. This authentic memory from this person might be an emotional memory. It might be a sensory memory. It might be details that you lost along the way, and you can learn from the difference that their memory brings to the table. So look at it as a good thing instead of a problem to solve. So that's the talk that I have for you today for your mini love tip to get started with your romance. I'll see you next week where we're going to dive into achieving deeper intimacy with someone. So stay tuned. Make sure you liked and subscribed so you're going to get the notification when we post each week. Have a good one.